Well, hello, my name is Todd Bailey, the owner of KRB Financial, and I am here on behalf of Small Business Insights of the Triangle, and I'm meeting with Kim Smith. Kim is the owner of Kross, Lieberman and Stone, a collection agency. So it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
It's good to be here and hear a little bit about your story. So let's start by telling us a little bit about how you got into the business. How did you launch this business? I understand it was 27 years ago. Tell us about that.
Well, 27 years ago I met a boy, and the boy was doing some sales with a collection agency in Florida. And he looked at me and he said, "Kim, I can do this. You know, we don't need to work for somebody else. Let's work for ourselves." So we moved to North Carolina and decided to open the collection agency up here because it was a licensed and bonded state, and that gave us some legitimacy at 25. And not to say how old I am. But it was definitely a move that we made as a young couple to start our own business. And it was just me and him. Okay. And now it's much more.
Yeah, and I understand some creativity went into naming the business, Kross, Lieberman and Stone.
Yes, because initially my maiden name was Stone. And he liked the sound of that name. He said it sounded solid, like a rock. And he said, "We need a Christian sounding name at the beginning." So I said there was nothing more a symbol of Christianity than the cross, so we used Kross as the first name, and he changed it to a K, so we had Kross and Stone. And he then initiated the fact that he wanted a Jewish three-syllable name in the middle. And the first Jewish boy I met was in 5th grade in Charleston, South Carolina, and his name was Jamie Lieberman. And so we used the name Lieberman and put that in the middle, and I've always thought of the process, the analogy, that it's the cross and the greatest Jew that ever lived and the stone rolling away from the tomb, and your debts are forgiven.
And there you go.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Very good. So you guys had mentioned that you started primarily as a business-to-business collection, and it kind of evolved beyond that over the years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Probably the first 8 to 10 years we were solid commercial business. It was low volume, high dollars. It was something that was very easy to collect as far as with a small staff. And then we had several clients who had other accounts. They had retail accounts as well as commercial. And they asked us if we would consider doing their retail collections as well. So we got into that. Those were higher volume, higher payout because the contingency fees were higher on that than they are on commercial. So we decided to branch out into that, and now we're about 60-40.
Okay, all right. So kind of a much better balance than you had at the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how big the business is now. What does it look like 27 years later?
Yeah, 27 years later. We were in a little stopping block back in the same time that a lot of companies were suffering in 2006, 2007, where we had to move around a little bit, change office space, downsize a little bit, and then we started growing, and now we're a mid-sized agency. We're less than 50 people. I want to stay less than 50 people, but we're certainly more than the 10 that we were for several years.
Yeah, okay. And your focus is not, you're a locally based business, but the focus of your sales is not necessarily just local.
No, it's not local. No, and we've been fortunate to be in the Triangle in an area where there are global businesses who have a global community they're collecting against. We have collected in Asia, Singapore. I think we recently had something in Denmark. I mean, we collect all over, and we have clients. One of our biggest clients is in Arizona, so we definitely are not just local to this community, but we do have businesses that are in the Triangle that are global, that we support their collection process.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Okay, so you said a couple of things that, as we were talking before the interview we started, we were chatting a little bit about the business and what differentiates you from other businesses that do what you do. Right. And you mentioned trying to changing the face of collections. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Changing the face of collections is one of our big priorities. It's been our theme for the last few years because we're always known as the bad guys. I mean, I was at a Raleigh Chamber of Commerce meeting not too long ago, and one of the guys that was networking with me comes up and he goes, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm in collection. He goes, oh, you're the bad guy. And you know, it's insulting in some respects, because we are a professional organization and we are helping creditors get their money back for services and products that they rendered. So I don't look at it like we're the bad guys, and we are actually servicing the community in a lot of different ways. And so our goal has been to try to change that stigma in acting and being professional on the phone. We're not yelling at people, we're not harassing people. As a sidebar story that we didn't talk about beforehand, I had a young fella come in the other day from Shred-it, the company Shred-it, and he came in to remove our shredding documents. We shred everything here. And he popped in my office and he said, are you Kim? And I said, yeah. He goes, Miss Kim, I don't know if you remember me. And I said, I'm not sure I do. And he goes, well, I came to your office several years ago, and I came in, I had a debt, and I was trying to settle the debt. And you sat me down and you explained how it would increase my credit score if I took care of this and paid it off. And I told you I didn't have enough money because I was taking my fiance, or the girl I wanted to ask to marry me, to Charleston, and that was my hometown. Okay. So I was like, well, I got lots of places I can recommend for you. And he then proceeded to say, well, I only have $2,000 for this bill, and the bill was for $2,500. I called my client, I explained the situation that the young man was having. He paid the $2,000. We retracted it off his credit. We negotiated that off. And so now he came in, when he popped his head in, he said, the lady I was going to ask to marry me said yes. Yeah. They're on their third child, and he wanted to say he had an 800 credit score, and it was thanks to me. So it was a back-end story that, you know, you don't hear. So that's part of changing the face of collections. You know, when our creditors, when the dental office or the hospital or somebody hires us to work on their behalf, we are an extension of them, and we don't want to give them a bad image. You know, we want to help that individual succeed, and that's part of the process.
And you also, what we're explaining a few minutes ago, one of the things that you guys feel like sets you apart a little bit is your philanthropy, your commitment to nonprofit organizations and charity. Right. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, recently we started an initiative called Kross Cares. We kind of labeled it. We've been doing it all along, but we've finally labeled it, and it's Kross Cares. And we're doing things in the community, such as we just donated to the Shriners Circus, and gave our staff some free tickets to the circus so that they could take their kids as well. And we're doing Walk for Hope this Sunday. We did a Labor Day walk that was supporting some financial literacy for caring homes. Whatever we can do that supports the initiative of we're giving back to the community. We have Young White Achievers that we sponsor their golf tournament every year. One of our collectors is actually has donated 10 grand every year to that program based on a golf program he created, and we support his golf program. So, you know, our collectors are doing things in the community, and as a result of what they see the leadership of the company doing as well.
Right. And you were sharing with me that one of the things that makes you well, let me rephrase that. You said, as a business owner, the things I've learned over the years about how to make our business into what it is working with your team, working with your people, taking care of your people. So unpack that for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think when our staff is on the same page as the owners, that you get better results. I think there's a lot of management styles that are very secretive about how they're doing business. They don't want their team to know what's going on. It's none of their business. It's kind of, you know, like the old adage that, you know, if your kids are heard but don't talk, don't speak. Yeah. You know, I take their suggestions, and I also support their values and their needs, and I think I definitely know they get that sense back from me. And like just this acorn right here. So we're a Raleigh company. The nut drops every year. So about 10 years ago, I decided that, you know, we're all nuts here, you know, and if you're going to be here and be a part of my staff, you got to be a little nutty, because you got to put up with me. So every year, as a part of that if you get a nut in your stocking, you know your job is secure. So everybody's digging through their stocking, and despite what present that may be in that stocking, everybody's looking for a nut. And so they've given me squirrels as, like I'm the squirrel, they're gathering the nuts and, that type of thing. So that little tiny acorn that they get, and we put it on the Christmas tree with the year on it, and everybody has bought into that they're part of the team.
Yeah.
And it supports their enthusiasm.
Right, because you created a culture.
Right.
Where people are really enthusiastic about doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
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 Who are some of the companies that you do the most work with? If somebody's watching this right now and they're thinking about, who are some of the best companies you've been able to work with?
Well, a lot of companies that are out there, like doctors' offices and dental offices, are obvious. That's obvious accounts receivable that they will have that fall past due. Some of the other companies that people don't realize are obvious, it's obvious to me, but it might not be obvious to that company, is we can recoup tuition reimbursements that you might have, contractual employees that you might have hired and given them a sign-on bonus and they didn't meet their contract. We collect that type of work. We collect business-to-business transactions, and it could be $150,000. It could be any amount of money. Mm-hmm. A lot of companies will want to choose an attorney first to try to reach an agreement with those companies when it's a bigger balance. But that doesn't necessarily collect it. A judgment that you might get is a piece of paper, whereas a lot of times our conversations with the individuals can suss out what the real problem is, and we resolve disputes between companies, we mitigate those disputes, and we collect the money.
Yeah.
So the target is everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so if somebody's looking to reach out to you, they want to speak with you, they want to find out a little bit more,
right.
Where would you direct them to go to find out more information?
Well, Kross.com, Kross.com, is a great avenue of kind of getting an overall perspective of our business. Mm-hmm. They can email me at ksmith@kross.com, also KROSS, and our phone number is 919-861-2400.
That's it.
I don't call myself. But they can reach out to me. I'm open to conversations. I like to figure out businesses and figure out what their needs are. I might have a different answer for them. There might be something else I suggest they do before they place their accounts with me. There's a lot of things that I can help companies with.
So when they reach out to you, it's very consultative at the beginning to understand what they're trying to do.
Right, right.
How you can meet their need.
Yeah, so a lot of times we have shoppers. They call, hey, my boss told me to look for a collection agency. Well, what is your boss wanting? What do you do? What is your problem? What are you seeing? If I understand those portions of their business, then we can address and attack their accounts out of the gate pretty quickly and get better results for them.
Very good, very good. Well, it was great to meet you for a few minutes here on the video and learn a little bit more about your business.
Well, thank you for your time.
So Kim Smith, owner of Kross, Lieberman, and Stone. And again, my name is Todd Bailey with KRB Financial on behalf of Small Business Insights.